The door didn't creak. It burst open like a gunshot in the quiet of my afternoon haze, and there he was, all sharp jawline and storm-cloud eyes, freezing me half-naked in the mirror's unforgiving glare. Shit, I'm so sorry," he stammered, his voice cracking like thunder over the Hudson. But he didn't bolt. Instead, he lingered, his gaze snagging on the faded tattoo snaking up my ribs, the one I'd inked to bury a ghost. In that split-second collision of skin and stranger, I felt the world tilt, as if his accidental invasion had cracked open not just my door, but the rusted lock I'd slammed on my heart 3 years ago, the day my brother vanished into the night without a goodbye. I stood there in my cramped Brooklyn walk-up, the kind of place where the walls whispered secrets from 100 tenants before me. Immigrants' laments, artists' fever dreams, lovers' muffled fights. The air smelled of yesterday's takeout and the faint, metallic tang of rain seeping through the fire escape. My shirt dangled from one hand, forgotten, as I gaped at him. He was maybe 28, tops, with that effortless New York edge. Faded black jeans hugging lean hips, a threadbare Ramones tee clinging to a runner's build, and dark curls that looked like they'd been wrestled by the wind off the East River. His eyes, though deep brown, flecked with gold, held a desperation that pinned me more than any apology could. "I'm Leo," he said finally, dragging a hand through his hair, his cheeks flushing a shade deeper than the autumn leaves piling up on my stoop. "Your super sent me," said the lock on 3B sticks, and fuck, I thought this was empty. New listing or something. He glanced at the keyring dangling from his fingers, engraved with the building's name. The Hawthorne Arms, a relic from the 20s that sagged under the weight of too many stories. I snatched my shirt up, pulling it over my head with more force than necessary, the fabric catching on the scar along my collarbone. A memento from a bar brawl back in college, when faggot had been hurled like a brick. "It's not empty," I muttered, my voice rougher than I intended. "And you just waltzed in like you own the place." He winced, stepping back but not fully retreating, his boots scuffing the worn hardwood. "I know. God, I know. Let me make it up to you. Coffee? My treat. There's this spot down on Atlantic Avenue. Best espresso in the borough, no bullshit." I should have said no, slammed the door on his earnest face and gone back to scrolling job listings on my laptop, pretending the freelance graphic design gigs were enough to keep the lights on. But something in his stutter, the way his fingers twisted the key like it was a lifeline, tugged at the frayed edges of me. Alex Harper, 32, perpetual singleton in a city that chewed up hearts and spat out husks. I'd moved to New York 5 years ago chasing the dream. Big agency job, loft in Williamsburg, a life where being gay felt like just another flavor in the melting pot. Instead, I'd gotten layoffs, a string of ghosting dates on apps that promised connection but delivered dick pics, and the hollow echo of my brother's voicemail. "Alex, I gotta go. Don't look for me." "Fine," I said, surprising myself. "But if it's weak, you're buying the next round too." His smile broke like dawn over the skyline. Tentative, then full, lighting up the dim hallway. "Deal. Name's Leo Reyes, by the way. Short for Leonardo, but don't hold that against me." We ended up at the Beanstalk, a hole-in-the-wall cafe tucked between a laundromat and a bodega, where the barista knew Leo by name and slid him a courte-du without asking. The place hummed with the low buzz of laptop warriors and dog walkers nursing hangovers. The walls plastered with faded posters of indie bands I'd seen open for Wilco back in '09. I cradled my black coffee, strong enough to strip paint, and watched him fidget across the Formica table. "So," he started, stirring sugar into his cup with unnecessary vigor. "What's your deal? Artist? Writer?" The super said, "You're the quiet one on the 3rd floor." "Graphic designer," I replied, tracing the rim of my mug. "Freelance, mostly. Pays the rent, barely." "You? Musician?" He grinned sheepishly, pulling a worn pick from his pocket and flipping it between fingers calloused from strings. "Guitar, mostly. Gigging around the city, open mics, weddings if I'm desperate. Got a band? The Drift. But we're more drifting than anything right now." The conversation flowed easier than I expected, like the G train on a good day. He talked about growing up in the Bronx, dodging potholes and expectations from a family that wanted him to be a doctor but got a dreamer instead. I shared scraps of my Chicago roots. The brutal winters, the dive bars where I'd first kissed a boy under neon lights, the ache of coming out to parents who nodded politely but never quite looked me in the eye. Omitted the brother part, of course. Jamie, the golden kid, straight-A athlete with a smile that could charm birds from trees. Until he couldn't. By the time we drained our cups, the sun had dipped low, painting the street in bruised purples. "Walk you back?" Leo asked, standing with that boyish awkwardness that made my chest tighten. "Sure." We ambled up the avenue, shoulders brushing in the crowd, the city's pulse syncing with ours. Honking taxis, street vendors hawking falafel, a sax player wailing autumn leaves on the corner. At my door, he hesitated, hearing jingling like a nervous heartbeat. "Thanks for not calling the cops on me," he said softly, his eyes searching mine in the porch light's glow. I laughed, a real one, the kind that loosened knots I didn't know were there. "Anytime you need to barge in, Leo Reyes." His hand grazed my arm, electric, fleeting, and then he was gone, vanishing into the night like smoke. I leaned against the frame, heart hammering, wondering if I just invited trouble or something dangerously close to hope. That night, sleep evaded me like a bad rhyme. I tossed on sheets that smelled faintly of his cologne. Cedar and rain, replaying the intrusion, the apology, the way his laugh had wrapped around my ribs like a melody I couldn't shake. By morning, my inbox pinged with a gig. Album art for an up-and-coming folk act. Inspiration hit hard. I sketched feverishly, lines curving into profiles that looked suspiciously like a certain guitarist. A week blurred by in a haze of deadlines and takeout, but Leo was a constant hum in the background. We'd bump into each other in the lobby, him hauling amp cases, me dodging the ancient elevator's whims, or trade texts that started innocuous. "Heard rain's coming. Grab an umbrella?" And veered into the vulnerable. "Ever feel like the city's too big, swallows you whole?" His messages lit up my screen at odd hours, pulling me from the edge of loneliness. One crisp Saturday, as leaves skittered like confetti down Bedford Avenue, he knocked, properly this time, with a six-pack of IPA and a sheepish grin. "Thought you might want company for the game. Mets versus Phillies. No pressure." I let him in, the apartment suddenly too small for two bodies and the unspoken charge between us. We sprawled on my thrift store couch, the TV flickering blue light over empty bottles, commentary droning about stolen bases and sacrifice flies. But the real play was us. His knee against mine, accidental at first, then deliberate. The way he leaned in to explain a foul ball, breath warm on my neck. "You're tense," he murmured during a commercial, his fingers brushing my shoulder. "Everything okay?" I swallowed, the words bubbling up unbidden. "Just ghosts. Family stuff." He didn't push, just nodded, his hand settling there, solid, grounding. "I get that. My sister's the only one who stuck around after Dad split. Holidays are a minefield." We talked then, really talked, voices low as the city outside hushed for night. He confessed the fear of fading into obscurity, strumming chords in empty bars while dreams curdled. I cracked open the Jamie vault a sliver, the brother who'd shared my secrets, then shattered them by disappearing after a fight over his hidden pill bottles. "He was my anchor," I whispered. "Now it's just static." Leo's eyes softened, gold flecks catching the lamp's glow. "Anchors drag sometimes. But you're still floating, Alex. That's something." The space between us vanished in a breath. His lips on mine tentative, then fierce, tasting of hops and hunger. It wasn't fireworks. It was a slow burn, hands mapping scars and stories, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long lost. We tumbled into each other with the reverence of survivors, whispers weaving through the dark. "Stay." I breathed, and he did, until dawn painted us in gold. But hope's a fragile thing in New York, prone to shattering under the weight of what comes next. The weeks that followed were a fever dream of stolen moments and syncopated heartbeats. Leo became the rhythm to my chaos, mornings tangled in sheets, his head on my chest as rain drummed the roof. Afternoons at his band's rehearsal space in Bushwick, where the air thrummed with distortion and his voice cut through like sunlight. The drift was raw, unpolished. Elena on bass, a tattooed force with a laugh like gravel. Marcus on drums, the quiet anchor, and Leo, frontman with a falsetto that could hush a subway car. I'd sketch logos for their EP between sets, stealing glances at him under stage lights, sweat slick and alive. "You're our good luck charm," Elena teased one night, elbowing me as we loaded gear into a van. "Leo's writing again. Hasn't stopped humming since you two collided." I flushed, but Leo just slung an arm around my waist, pulling me close in the alley's shadows. What can I say? Bargains change a man. Our dates were quintessentially Brooklyn. Picnics in Prospect Park with bodega sandwiches, where he'd strum an acoustic guitar and I'd read aloud from Kerouac, voices mingling with distant traffic. Midnight runs to the pier, hands linked as ferries cut the black water like silver knives. He fit into my life like he'd always been there, filling cracks I hadn't known were gaping. For the first time since Jamie, vulnerability didn't feel like a wound. Yet shadows lurked. I'd catch Leo staring at his phone sometimes, thumb hovering over a contact labeled Mama, his face tightening like a storm front. "Family?" I'd ask gently, and he'd deflect with a joke. But the hurt lingered, a bruise under his skin. My own ghost stirred too, nights when Jamie's absence hit like a sucker punch, leaving me pacing the fire escape, city lights blurring through unshed tears. Leo would find me there, wordless, wrapping me in his jacket until the chill ebbed. One evening, as October's chill bit deeper, we wandered the village, fairy lights strung like stars over Washington Square. Street performers juggled fire, their flames dancing shadows across his face. He stopped at a busker's guitar case, dropping a 20 and murmuring, "Keep fighting the good fight." "You're generous," I said later, over ramen at a hole-in-the-wall joint steaming with miso and memory. He shrugged, chopsticks pausing. "Gotta be. Life's short." Learned that the hard way. His eyes darkened, and for a moment, I saw the boy from the Bronx, fists clenched against a world that took swings without warning. "Tell me," I pressed, heart thudding. We'd shared so much. This felt like the next verse. He exhaled, setting down his bowl. "Couple years back I was engaged. To a guy Raul. Thought he was it. We had plans. Tour the coast, record an album, build something real. But he bailed. Said I was too much of a dreamer, not grounded enough. Left me with a lease I couldn't afford and a demo tape full of songs about us." His laugh was bitter, edged with glass. "Turns out, us was just him stringing me along till something shinier came by." The confession hung heavy, mirroring my own scars. "I'm sorry," I whispered, reaching across the table. "He was a fool." Leo's fingers laced with mine, warm and sure. "Maybe, but it taught me to spot the keepers." His gaze held mine, steady as the East River's tide. "You're one, Alex. The real deal." We made love that night in my apartment. Slow and sacred, bodies speaking what words couldn't. Promises etched in sighs, forgiveness in the arch of a back. Afterward, curled against him, I traced the constellation of freckles on his shoulder. "What if we make our own plans?" I murmured. "No ghosts, just us." He kissed my temple, voice a rumble. "Deal. Starting with that gig next weekend. Come hear the new track. It's for you." The show at the Bowery Ballroom was electric, a sold-out crush of bodies swaying under strobing lights. The drift owned the stage, Marcus's beats pounding like a heartbeat, Elena's bass growling low, Leo's guitar weeping through chords that twisted my gut. Midway, he locked eyes with me in the crowd, dedicating Collision Course with a crooked smile. The lyrics poured out, verses of accidental doors and second chances, choruses that soared like we'd rewritten the stars. The room erupted, but I stood transfixed, tears pricking as the final note faded. Backstage, amid hugs and high-fives, he pulled me into a utility closet. The door barely latched before his mouth claimed mine. Fierce, triumphant. "You felt that?" he gasped, forehead to mine. "Every note," I replied, breathless. But as we emerged, laughing, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. A voicemail that turned my blood to ice. "Alex? It's Jamie. I'm in trouble. Need you. Please." The world narrowed to that tinny plea. My brother's voice cracked and distant. Coordinates pinned to a dingy motel in Jersey. Leo saw the color drain from my face. "What is it?" "Family?" I choked out, the irony bitter. "The ghost just called collect." He didn't hesitate. "I'm driving. Whatever you need." We tore across the bridge in his beat-up Civic, the skyline receding like a memory. Leo's hand gripped mine over the gearshift, a lifeline in the rearview's blur. The motel was a squat concrete scar off the turnpike. Flickering neon, potholed lot, the kind of place hope went to die. Room 12's door hung ajar, and inside, Jamie slumped on the bed, gaunt and hollow-eyed, track marks faint but damning on his arms. "Alex," he rasped, lurching up. "God, you came." I froze in the doorway, the brother-eyed mourned alive but eroded. A stranger in familiar skin. "What the hell, Jamie? 3 years. And this is how you show up." Leo's presence at my back was steel, silent support. No intrusion. Jamie's gaze flicked to him, narrowing. "Who's this? Your latest pity fuck." The slur landed like a slap, but Leo didn't flinch. "Easy," he said evenly. "We're here for you, man." Jamie laughed, a jagged sound. "Here for me? After I ghosted? Nah, little bro's always been the fixer." He raked hands through thinning hair, eyes wild. "I fucked up. Debts. Bad crowd. Need cash to square it, 5 grand. Loan, Alex. For old times." Rage boiled up, hot and ancient. "Old times? You left me holding the bag." Mom's breakdowns, Dad's silence. "I thought you were dead." Tears carved tracks down his face. "I was ashamed. The pills. They owned me, but I can fix it. Just this once." Leo's voice cut soft but firm. "We'll get you help. Real help. Not cash for ghosts." Jamie lunged, desperation twisting to fury. "You don't get it. They're coming, tonight." A crash from the lot, tires screeching, shadows spilling from a black SUV. Men piled out, rough-hewn, bats in hand. "Run!" Jamie yelped, shoving us toward the back window. Chaos erupted, glass shattering, shouts echoing. Leo hauled me through the frame into the scrub behind the motel, hearts slamming as we sprinted for the car. Tires spun gravel. They pursued, but the Civic roared to life, merging into traffic with inches to spare. We didn't speak until we hit the skyline's glow, safe but shattered. "You okay?" Leo finally asked, voice tight. I nodded, numb. He chose them over me. Again. "Not over you," Leo said, pulling over near the Brooklyn Battery. "Over his demons. But you're worth fighting for, Alex. Every time." In the dash's dim light, I saw it, love. Not fleeting but forged. A cord that wouldn't break. We drove home in silence, hands clasped, the city unfolding like a promise. November draped Brooklyn in gray veils, the kind that seeped into bones and bred doubt. Jamie's motel standoff replayed in my nightmares. His feral eyes, the bat-wielding shadows, the acrid burn of fear in my throat. We'd filed a police report. Anonymous tip on the crew shaking down attics. But leads dried up faster than autumn leaves. Leo urged therapy, a support group for families of the lost. I went, twice, spilling guts to strangers who nodded like they knew the hollow throb of abandonment. It helped marginally, like a bandage on a bullet wound. Leo, though, he was my salve. We'd hole up in his Bushwick loft, a chaotic area of half-painted canvases, his side hustle and guitar stacks, cooking paella from his abuela's recipe, while Nina Simone crooned from a vintage turntable. To us, he'd toast with sangria, clinking glasses, his free hand tracing my knuckles. Those nights, tangled in his bed amid the scent of turpentine and him, I felt unbreakable. He whispered futures, a joint trip to Big Sur, where waves could wash away the grime, recording sessions where I'd design covers for songs we'd co-write. but cracks spiderwebbed. The drift's buzz grew. A scout from Sub Pop sniffing around after the Bowery set. Whispers of a demo deal. Leo's phone rang nonstop. Agents, venues, Elena plotting tour routes. This could be it, he'd say, eyes alight, but exhaustion shadowed him, late nights tweaking mixes till dawn. I'd wake to cold sheets, him pacing the fire escape with a cigarette, staring at the sprawl like it held answers. One drizzly Thursday, post-rehearsal, he collapsed onto the couch beside me, head in my lap. They want 3 new tracks by Christmas. Pressure's insane. I massaged his temples, feeling the tension coil like wire. You've got this. We're in it together. His sigh was heavy. About that, Raul texted. Out of the blue. Wants to catch up. Says he saw the gig clip online. The name landed like frost. I stilled, fingers faltering. And I blocked him. Leo sat up, cupping my face. He's past. You're present. Future. Relief flooded, but unease lingered. A serpent in Eden. Trust, I'd learned, was a house of cards in gales. The betrayal brewed slow, insidious. It started with Jamie's sporadic calls. Burners, always, voice slurred with false bravado. I'm clean. Bro got a job slinging coffee in Philly. Send 100? Bus fare. I'd wire it, small bites, telling myself it was progress. Leo disapproved, gently. Boundaries, Alex, or he'll drown you both. Then, the gig at Webster Hall. The drift's biggest yet, 1,500 souls packed in, air electric with sweat and anticipation. I stood front row, pride swelling as Leo dedicated another song to the guy who crashed into my life. The set peaked in a frenzy, crowd surfing, encores till security herded us out. Backstage champagne flowed. Elena pulled me into a hug. You're family now. But Leo vanished amid the schmoozing, re-emerging flushed, eyes evasive. Scout stuff, he mumbled, steering me to the van. In the lot, his phone chimed. A text preview flashing. Missed you tonight. Drinks tomorrow? Raul. My stomach plummeted. Friend of yours. He pocketed it quick. Old bandmate. Nothing. Lies have a scent sour, metallic. I swallowed the accusation, chalking it to post-show haze. But seeds of doubt took root. Days blurred into a tense waltz. Leo dove deeper into the album, vanishing for writing retreats that stretched hours into overnights. I text, home soon. Replies, soon. Love you. Empty apartment. Me sketching phantom designs. Jamie's latest plea, just 50 rents due. Echoing unanswered. The snap came mid-December, snow dusting the stoops like powdered sugar on a bitter pill. I got home early from a client meeting. Album mock-ups for a queer indie rapper, all bold lines and hidden hearts, to find the door ajar. Voices drifted. Leo's, low and urgent. Another, smoother, laced with that old ghost charm. I pushed in, heart jackhammering. There they were in the kitchen. Leo at the table, Raul across, bottles of Dos Equis sweating rings on coasters. Raul. Polished, predatory, with a fade haircut and a smile that didn't reach eyes the color of dirty dishwater. He looked up, unperturbed. Alex, right? Leo's told me all about you. Leo bolted up, chair scraping. Babe, it's not. I forgot he was swinging by. Old tracks. Collab idea. The air thickened, lies clotting like fog. Collab? I echoed, voice flat. At midnight? After blocking him. Raul chuckled, rising languid. Water under the bridge, man. We're adults. But Leo's flinch betrayed him. Guilt, raw and red. Alex, wait. I didn't. Grabbed my coat, stormed into the hall, the door slamming like finality. Snow swirled as I wandered, blocks blurring. Past the bagel shop with its eternal line, under the BQE's rumble, to the park where benches cradled lovers and loners alike. I sank onto one, breath fogging, tears freezing on lashes. Betrayal's blade twists deepest when it's kin to love. Jamie's vanishing, now Leo's unraveling. Was I the fool always chasing anchors that slipped? Hours later, my phone lit. Leo, frantic voicemails. Please come back. It's not what you think. Then Jamie, heard you're in a jam. Raoul's bad news, ran with my ex's crew once. Watch your back. Dawn crept, pale and punishing. I trudged home, key trembling in the lock. Leo waited on the stoop, bundled in my scarf, eyes bloodshot. I fucked up, he blurted as I neared. Raoul showed unannounced. Talked up the deal, said he had connections. I listened, stupid, but nothing happened. Swear on my sister. I sagged against the rail, exhaustion warring with ache. Why him? After everything. Desperation. His voice cracked. The scout bailed. Said our sounds dated. Raoul dangled a lifeline. But it's poison, I see that now. You're my truth, Alex. We stood there, snow veiling us, the city stirring awake. Forgiveness hovered, fragile as a truce. Prove it, I whispered. Cut him out. All of it. He nodded. Fierce. Done. But you, Jamie's pulling you under too. We fight this together or not at all. Inside, we thawed with tea and truths. Raoul's history of sabotage, poaching songs, leaving wreckage. Leo deleted the thread, blocked anew, then pulled his guitar, strumming a raw apology. Verses of regret, choruses vowing rebuild. I joined, humming harmony, our voices mending the rift. But peace is fleeting. Storms gather unseen. Christmas Eve, as twinkling lights festooned brownstones, my door pounded, frantic, insistent. Jamie, wild-eyed, snow-caked, clutching a duffel. They're on to me. Because of you, the tip. Hid here. Leo's hand found mine behind the door. No, I said, stealing. You hid yourself. He crumpled, sobs racking. Help me, Alex. Please. We let him in, not for salvation, but reckoning. As carols drifted from neighbors, we sat in circle. Brothers, lover, ghosts laid bare. Jamie confessed the spiral. Pills for pressure, debts to devils, Raoul's crew as the noose. Leo shared his own near-miss with escape, a bottle in hand after Raoul's first ditch. I spoke the unsaid. The boy who'd idolized Jamie, the man who'd survived his absence. Dawn brought clarity. Rehab, Leo said firmly. Inpatient, upstate. I'll drive you. Jamie nodded, broken but budding resolve. I'm sorry. For everything. Hugs were awkward, healing. As his cab pulled away, Leo turned to me, snowflakes melting on lashes. Proud of you. We rang in the new year on the roof, city fireworks blooming like resilient hearts. But whispers of trouble lingered. Raoul's shadow, Jamie's fragility. Love, I realized, wasn't absence of storm. It was dancing in the downpour. Winter's grip loosened grudgingly, yielding to spring's tentative greens. Crocuses pushing through concrete cracks, a metaphor I clung to as life reshuffled. Jamie checked into Willow Creek, a no-frills facility in the Catskills, all pine air and group circles. Weekend visits became ritual. Leo and I motoring up I-87, thermos of coffee steaming, playlists of the Drift's rough cuts filling the car. Jamie looked better each time, color returning, eyes clearing, like a negative developing into focus. You're glowing, he noted one April afternoon, as we hiked a trail fringed with trillium. Leo's good for you. I glanced back at Leo, tossing a frisbee with a patient, his laugh carrying on the breeze. Yeah, he is. Back in the city, the Drift surged forward. Sub Pop reconsidered after a viral clip from a rooftop set. Leo's voice over Skyline, raw and redemptive. Studio time booked in a Red Hook warehouse, sessions bleeding into nights of takeout and tweaks. I designed the singles art, two silhouettes colliding under street lamp glow. Title Uninvited Key, etched in neon script. Elena high-fived me. Captures it perfect. Chaos to chorus. But Raoul's specter clawed back. May brought an email. Anonymous. But his fingerprints. Demo leaks online. Twisted riffs credited to him. Whispers in forums painting Leo as unoriginal. Hate mail trickled. Slurs in my inbox. Poacher jabs at gigs. Leo hardened, deleting without reply, but I saw the toll. Sleepless nights, strings snapped in frustration. We confront him, I urged one evening, as thunder rumbled over the harbor. End this. Leo paced our shared space. My walk-up now ours. Boxes half unpacked. And say what? He's got pull, Alex. One word, and the deal evaporates. Or it solidifies you. I stood, cupping his face. Without his shadow. The meat was neutral. A midtown diner, formica gleaming under fluorescence, coffee bitter as grudges. Raoul arrived slick, tailored jacket, smirk intact, flanked by a weasel of a manager. Gents, he drawled, sliding into the booth. To what do I owe? Cut the shit, Leo said, voice steady. The leaks, the sabotage. We're done dancing. Raoul's laugh was oil. Paranoia doesn't suit you, Leo. Those tracks? Public domain in my book. We were a team once. I leaned in, pulse thundering. Team? You gutted him. And now? Petty revenge because he moved on. Eyes narrowed, cold. Moved on to you? The rebound artist. Cute. But dreams die hard. Ask your junkie brother. The jab ignited. Don't, I snarled, half rising. Leo's hand on my arm anchored. Walk away, Raoul, Leo said, quiet thunder. Or we go public, your history, the thefts. Sub pops listening. A beat, taut as wire. Raoul's mask slipped, resentment raw, a boy scorned. You think you're better? This city's a meat grinder. I'll bury you both. But he rose, slinking out with his shadow. Victory tasted ashen. Threats lingered like exhaust. Summer scorched in, humidity thick as unspoken fears. The Drifts EP dropped July 4th. Fireworks syncing with collision course, blasting from every speaker. Reviews glowed. A queer anthem for the hustlers. Pitchfork hummed. We celebrated on a Coney Island blanket. Boardwalk lights fizzing. Leo's head on my shoulder as waves lapped secrets. Yet Jamie's progress faltered. A relapse scare. Slipped pill, confessed in tears. Shook us. I'm poison, he wept over speakerphone. Stay away. No, I countered, Leo nodding beside me. We're family. Flawed, but fighting. The climax crested Labor Day weekend, a festival gig in the Hudson Valley. The Drift headlined a side stage, crowd a sea of rainbow flags and fireflies. Leo poured soul into the set, sweat-drenched, voice cracking on the bridge about redemption. Midway, chaos. Scuffle at the barricade. Raoul's weasel shoving through, face twisted. Thief! He bellowed. Mic in hand, stolen from a tech. Security swarmed, but damage rippled. Phones out, videos capturing the slur-slinging meltdown. By morning, socials erupted. Drift drama trending. Supporters rallying with fan art, detractors spewing vitriol. Leo's phone exploded. He hurled it at the wall, shattering screen and silence. It's over, he choked, sinking to the motel floor. All of it. I knelt, gathering shards, literal, figurative. No, it's exposure. Truth outs the poison. Calls flooded. Sub-pop standing firm. Lawyers prepping defamation suits. Elena, we're unbreakable. Even Jamie, from Willow, saw the clip. Proud of you, bro, for holding ground. Raoul's empire crumbled fast. Old bandmates surfacing with tales of theft, exes with restraining orders. He vanished into the ether, a footnote in our footnote. Fall returned, leaves aflame, mirroring our renewal. Jamie graduated rehab, relocating to Albany for a barista gig and NA meetings. Tentative bridges rebuilt over Sunday calls. Leo and I inked our own vows, not rings but resolutions. Therapy tandem, a pact against isolation. One crisp October eve, atop the Hawthorne Arms roof, city sprawling like a loved one's scars. Leo strummed a new melody, gentle, ascending. For the stranger who stayed, he sang, eyes on mine. I joined, voice weaving counterpoint. Below, Brooklyn breathed. Horns, laughter, life unyielding. Betrayal had carved us hollow, but from the void, something profound emerged. Not perfection, but persistence. Love, humanistic and hard-won. A story unfinished, echoing into the night. In the end, we weren't saved or shattered. We were simply here, hands clasped against the wind, writing our verse in a city that never sleeps.